6 months ago, we did something pretty unconventional. We said goodbye to our traditional contact forms and started using interactive flows for all of our lead generation campaigns. And honestly, the results have blown us away. We've been able to achieve higher conversion rates, which equals more leads, cheaper cost per lead, and we're getting a better quality of lead as well. In this video, I'm going to share our experience with flows and how we've been able to use them to achieve game-changing results for our clients. Let's dive right in.
Hey, Sam here from Atomic Marketing, and welcome to today's presentation / case study on how we said goodbye to our traditional contact forms and hello to interactive multi-step flows, which has ultimately helped us increase our conversion rates for our clients anywhere between 5 to 10%, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but you get the idea. We're getting great results using these flows. And a bit of background, our clients' campaign performance had always been pretty good. So there wasn't necessarily a burning problem that needed solving, but more of a burning desire to do even better. And the main reason for this is that CPCs aren't getting any cheaper, especially in Google Ads, which really is our client bread and butter campaigns. CPCs are always going up, and we wanted just to find a new lever that we could pull to get more leads for our clients, get a lower cost per lead, and see if we could get a better quality of lead as well. So just to dive in quickly on some of the results that we've been able to achieve with implementing this. You can see here, this is just a quick preview, but ahead of going into this, I want to just show you our classic way that we have always traditionally used when building our landing pages and multi-step forms. So here's an example of one of our loft boarding landing pages. It's a pretty classic design that we've been using for years now, where we've got the centralized headline at the top. We've got a subheading below that, hero image on the left, and then a contact form on the right-hand side. And you'll notice this is a bit different to traditional sort of contact forms, which are just name, email, phone number, which is what you can see on that step 2 side of things. But what we've been doing is using multi-step forms where we ask a few qualification questions on the step 1, typically in the form of easy to answer drop-down questions, which then redirects to the step 2, where we ask for the name, email, phone number, and postcode or zip code. Same sort of thing here. You can see with this particular example, this is a roofing page, exactly the same. We've got the step 1 qualification questions, which then redirects to the step 2. So here's a quick example of one of our pages in action. Actually, let me just get that back to the step 1. So you can see here in this particular example, it's for a loft insulation company. We've got 2 qualification steps here where you can select different answers to questions, click on get my free quote, and then it takes you to the step where we collect their personal details. And so this is like the format we've been using for years now. And it's always worked really well. I must caveat that this still works really well, and we still have it active on many of our client campaigns. And I highly recommend using it still. Here's another example of a garden room page, same sort of deal, multi-step form, where we use qualification questions, redirect to step 2. And it's nice because you can track the drop-off rate from step 1 to step 2, and you can kind of calculate your step 2 and step 1 conversion rates to improve the overall conversion rate of your campaign. But let me show you exactly what we have now started moving to, which is an interactive flow, or as we call it, just a flow. And to be honest, it is just a fancy name for a multi-step form, but I feel it probably doesn't do it enough justice. So how do flows work? So it's basically a multi-step form, and the way we use them is in an interactive way, which is one question at a time. And the benefit that you can use with this approach is that you can actually ask way more qualification questions compared to loading like 5 questions on the step 1 part of the form from the classic design that we've been using. Sure, you could kind of break it up into 3 separate steps, but that's a lot of redirects to make. And yeah, I don't fancy building pages like that. But yeah, this is kind of like an example of one of our roofing clients' flows. So you can see that first step question is, what type of property do you have? And then the second step is what type of work do you need doing. And then as you click through each answer, it will move on to the next question pretty much instantly. And it works really, really fast. And as you notice, it actually requires way fewer clicks. Whereas on the traditional form, you'd have to click on the field, select your option, select the next one, click on the button to move to step 2. So it's almost doubling the number of interactions using the using the traditional form that we've been using. So really, like, one of the huge benefits of using interactive flows is that the time to complete is fast. You can see that as 1, 2, 3 clicks before we're then presented with the personal details question at the end there. And so I'm going to show some more examples in a moment, but if I quickly sum up all of the main benefits of using flows, and I will give very detailed examples soon. The first one's got to be the increase in conversion rates. We found our uplifts have been anywhere from 5 to 10%, sometimes a little lower, sometimes higher, but overall across the board it's been very, very positive, and we've certainly been able to squeeze more leads out the campaigns that we're running. Secondly is that improved user experience. As you can see from some of the examples, it's so much faster for users to complete, especially on mobile devices. It's literally a case of just tapping the options of the pre-qualification questions before you get to the personal details. And the third benefit is that you can actually have very tailored questions and content. So using conditional logic and some of the form fields that are completed, you can then use that information for further questions. So if someone selects a certain question type, you can then show them, or an answer, you can then show them a different question based on their answers. So it's got that kind of intelligence to it. And overall, increased lead quality as well is so much better because you can ask more questions without seeing a huge drop-off in conversion rate when compared to you asking 5 qualifications questions on a traditional form. And my personal favorite thing about these forms, and I'm going to share this with you at the end of the video, is visibility on drop-off rates. So improving your conversion rate through data becomes so much easier when you understand what questions people are dropping off on. And I'm going to show you some examples towards the end of the video. But to give you some actual hard data, I'm going to walk you through some of our conversion rate before and afters using flows. And bear in mind, we're using a whole different collection of keywords, and these flows allow us to target different keywords we were previously not able to target as well. So here you can see different niches of our clients. So roofing, you can see we've gone from 5% all the way up to 10%. House moving, 13 to 24%. Windows and doors, 3 to 13. Garden rooms, 3.2 to 6.25. Loft insulation, that was actually one of the few campaigns that didn't perform as well, but we've still maintained using it because we're getting such consistent good results, and we're asking more qualification questions throughout the process of this as well. External rendering or siding has gone from 7.4 to 9.55. Solar, 8.63, all the way up to 12%. So across the board, we're having really, really good uplifts in conversion rates. So let's now jump into some actual examples, and I can show you this in action. So here's one of our client pages, which was a moving company. They were using a very traditional form, not on a landing page, but on their actual website. So we built them a landing page with the interactive flow on it, and here were the results. So you can see here, when we introduced the flow, we saw a massive spike pretty much straight away, where conversion rates went upwards of 25, 30%. December time came along, and you can see there was a slight decline in the campaign there, but it's gone right back up. And now I think midway through March, we're experiencing anywhere upwards of 25% in that campaign. And this is what the flow looks like and how it works. So here is the live page. I've got a full YouTube video on how to build this if you're interested, but this is how it works. So you can select what option you're looking for, put in some information here, and you can just get a feel for how simple and easy this is to complete. And you can actually put sort of verification steps in here as well if you want to make sure it's a valid postcode or zip code. But you can see how simple this is to complete compared to what you saw before. So you can really get an idea of like the question flow and how things move along so fluidly. And then what we actually do is break up our personal detailed questions into their own individual steps. So we ask for name, email, phone number, all in separate steps. And then so you can kind of get the idea with that here. And this has performed really, really well for us. And then here's another example of a before and after for a roofing company that we've been working with. You can see here our traditional classic design, and then we actually went all in on just putting the flow right at the top, just having testimonials below it, no other information, and that has seemed to perform much, much better. Here's an example of that page in action. So you can see literally just that, and we ask a few simple questions. What type of property do you have? What type of work's required? When are you looking to get started? Where is the property located? You get the idea. You can build out all these different steps of questions. And what I really like about this is that there are so many nuanced details of what you can include on each question step to improve the performance, because when you get into the analytics, you can really see the drop-off rates, and I'll show you this again towards the end of the video, but this is where you can add sort of little nuanced details like, why do we ask for your postcode? Which, you know, if you didn't include it, you might not get as good a conversion rate on this particular question. So it just works really, really well. And this has been the uplift that we've seen from installing the interactive flow on our roofing campaign landing pages. Again, pretty much instantly, conversion rate has increased, and we're now getting a very consistent landing page conversion rate of anywhere upwards of 10%. And then over time, since making small increments and changes, we've been able to increase this pretty consistently. Here is another example of adding a flow for a windows and doors company. So you can see here, this was our traditional design, which actually used a pop-up form, which is not something we do that often, but it actually didn't work very well. Conversion rates were like 3%. So we switched over to using a multi-step interactive flow. And here is the example here, where you can see now we're being a bit different with our creativity. We're including some images that represent the options that people can select. And this is a really, really simple form where you can choose one of the different options. It's very visual. What service do you need? Postcode. And then it proceeds on to asking for all of their contact information. And this campaign actually was one of the few ones that we didn't break up into multi-step, and it seemed to worked really well still. So we never changed it to breaking it up into their own separate questions for each contact information. And here were the results from switching. So again, you can see how instant our conversion rate uplift has been since moving to the interactive flows. Went from like a 3% conversion rate all the way up to like 15%. It came down a little bit, but honestly, anything over 7% is an absolute dream for this campaign. And then finally, my last example is for a spray foam insulation company. So here you can see again that very traditional type of landing page that we've been using. Conversion rate was 4.5%. Cost per lead was really high, £71 cost per conversion. And then since switching to it, you can see that conversion rates moved up to 11%. Cost per lead is down to £21. And it's a very simple, nice page that uses iconography. So let me see if I actually have another example of that. I'm not sure if I've got it here, but yeah, perfect. So here it is. So you can see we're now actually using iconography in our buttons, and again follows the exact same process. Here's an example of, I know I always talk about roofing, so here's an example of one of our roofing clients that we've implemented this for. So again, a really simple page, and on this particular page we're trying a new thing with including testimonials in combination with the project photo. And this seems to be working really well. So if you are thinking of adding a testimonial section to your page, this is like a kind of a combination of using testimonials and project gallery all in one, and it's very, very effective at showing off your work and building trust. But yeah, this is how the roofing flow works. You get the idea. We then go through multiple steps. And then one thing that we're adding at the moment is asking people how they would like to receive their quotes. This is something that we've been using to improve our contact rates across the board from all our campaigns. I've got a whole separate video. I'll link this in the description below as well. But honestly, this is an absolute game changer. So definitely watch that video if you are interested in getting better leads and people who actually respond to you. Okay, so finally, I want to come to the point of, with these interactive flows, you have full clarity on drop-off rates. And from previous experience using software like Hotjar or heat mapping, scroll maps, it always felt like such guesswork to try and understand, how do I improve my conversion rate on this landing page? Like, is it the hero image? Is it the headline? And you typically will have to come up with like a hypothesis and then test the hypothesis. And that can take time, money, resources. And for local lead gen campaigns that we run, we don't necessarily have a lot of time. We get paid on results. So we've got to work fast and we've got to deliver results fast. But having these drop-off rates is a complete game changer and gives us full direction on where we need to make optimization. So each one of these screens is basically a question step. So that's what a screen is. And you can see here the drop-off rate on every single question step. So you can see here we've got a 24% drop-off rate when we ask the name, 48%, and no surprise, when we ask for the phone number, 36% asking for the postcode. So you can see, like, okay, what are the main areas of the form that we're seeing drop-offs on? And then from this, you can start to think, okay, maybe I can create maybe I can remove the question altogether if I don't need it. Perhaps I don't even need to ask for postcode. Maybe I just ask, what area are you living in? And then you can A/B test that to see if maybe we're able to pull this number down by 10%. And you can see, if we're able to pull that number down by 10%, how many more people that will then go through the rest of the funnel, which creates a huge opportunity at the end of it. So that's like one example of what you can really do when you have an idea of where people are dropping off on the form. Here's an example of a screenshot from one of our loft insulation question flows. So you can see here our main drop-off rate, again, is always going to be like the phone number. We know that, it's pretty common, but it's just like if you have other questions that you're asking throughout this flow, you can see if there is like a major thing that is putting people off. So we know project start date is not at all a reason that people are dropping off, but maybe postcode, again, that's 28% in this particular one. And it's going to vary from industry to industry, but it's just something important to keep in mind to really understand where in your forms people are leaving, because you can then either remove the question, try rephrase the question, add a little extra nuanced details to the question. And that's how you can really improve your conversion rates over time, because you have the visibility, you have the clarity of what to improve. So to give you a kind of like short conclusion from the results that we've seen across all the clients that we have implemented this for, it's becoming very hard to actually switch back to building our traditional contact forms. In some industries, we just know it works and that's where we keep rolling it out. But for any new campaign, we're completely going all in on these interactive flows, just because we've seen like the improvement of lead quality, our conversion rates go up. You can be more dynamic with how you ask questions. And you can get better personalized questions based on their answer. And from our experience as well, you can target more top of funnel keywords in Google Ads campaigns, like cost, price, how much, because you can then build the question steps in a certain way which makes people feel like they're going to get it. And with the right flow builder, you can actually calculate prices using certain calculations throughout the builder. We've not really implemented this for many of our clients, but the option is there. We always more prefer to get the personnel details and then our clients give the prospect a quote afterwards. And a quick disclaimer, like, take some of the results that I've shared with a pinch of salt. So if you can see from the results breakdown here, like this only takes into account a 3-month average. I mean, as of the time of doing this, I think a few more weeks have elapsed, and honestly, the results are still really, really good. But yeah, take the results with a pinch of salt because it doesn't account for seasonality. It's not like most of the campaigns were running side by sides as A/B tests. It was simply switching from traditional contact form to new interactive flow landing page. And that's kind of what we've based the data on, rather than it being like 100% fair test. But, you know, it's hard to control every possible variable. But the main thing is our clients are getting better results, they're happier, more leads, cheaper cost per lead. And we are kind of going all in on interactive flows from here onwards. So hopefully this video has been useful and you're interested in potentially trying a flow for yourself. There are plenty of builders out there. I can recommend a few in the description below. But if you're interested in working with us, there are a few different things that we do. We do landing page design, full Google Ads management, and consulting. So feel free to visit our website at atomicmarketing.com and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or are interested in one of those 3 options. And I'm sure we can find a way to work together. And as always, thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, it helps out the channel hugely. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We've got loads of other kind of videos similar to this coming out, more Google Ads content, more landing page content, agency related content. So yeah, give it a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Also, there might be some cool videos to watch here. Cheers.